focuses on social transformation. Talk about your ideas on where you've been taking the Armenian Apostolic Church over the years as far as...
For me to be taking the Armenian, it's a little too much. But where I see my ministry going, it's to get out of the ghetto. We talk about Armenian Church many times in a context that it's this 1700-year-old tradition, and we forget that it's really an 85-year-old church. One of the things that the Turks did very successfully, I think they were able to decentralize, take away the one thing that the Armenian people had was that church. So what we have right now is a church that is a survival church. In other words, the church has taken on this other dimension of being able to bring the people together, keep them Armenian. So as an outcome of that, we've become a ghetto church. In other words, it's something exclusively for Armenians. And one of the things that I've been working on is trying to get the church to see that it has a mission outside of the Armenian community. It has something to say to the general populace. At the same time, it has a very unique message to give to the Armenian people. So in the programs that we've set up, it's always to have the Armenian people, which we have a natural language with, which we have the ability to get them to interact with the church, get the Armenian people to interact and go beyond their boundaries and see that there is a bigger world to serve and a community to serve.
Can you characterize some of the services that you've engaged in order to do that?
One very basic thing is to take the incident of the genocide and move it outward. For instance, we went through this genocide 85 years ago. At that time, we were homeless, we were hungry, we were the downtrodden, we were suffering, we were crucified. Okay, now that in itself is worthy of attention, but the reality is nobody in the world cares about it because it's happening to them today. So as Armenians, what's our obligation to other people? So very realistically, to get out there and to campaign, to be able to talk, to help people who are also victims of genocide. And in so doing, you bring attention to your own plight, but at the same time, you're doing something very real, helping somebody. Because when the Armenians were going through this, everybody looked at them and said, so what, you know? Well, we're doing the same right now. So very real programs that we've put into place is campaigns, whenever to work with Amnesty International, to start writing campaigns. We have our kids in these petition drives. And sure, some of them may be futile, but you know what? It's to wake up the consciousness of these people, to realize that there are other people suffering, there are other crucifixions, there are other genocides, okay, and we have an obligation. The other thing is very real things within the local communities, to do blood drives, to do toy drives, to feed the homeless. And for no other reason than we are Armenian Christians and we find it an obligation. Our Christian background tells us we have to do it, and our Armenian background tells us that there's no escaping it. We have to. It's part and parcel of our blood. We have to be helping others.
Can I ask you to give a specific example of, say, a petition drive that you involved the students in?
When the Karabakh incident, when the first 1988 that happened, from that point on, we got young people to understand that the only way that things do change, aside from dropping a bomb on somebody, is that there is political action, and they have a lot of power within them. They have a lot of power within them to be able to effectuate change. So specifically, there was the incident in Rwanda. There was even some incidences right here, for instance. Let's not even go global. Real basic one right here, Marshall High School. We had an incident at Pasadena School District where you had a teacher who was overtly prejudice against Armenians and had taken the initiative to make slanderous remarks within the yearbook of the school. Now, this is a yearbook at Pasadena School District, one that the school district has approved and is out in the hands of the people. So we got the students to start campaigning and realize that they do not have to allow somebody else to dictate what their destiny is going to be. And it was a successful drive. It was a successful campaign. It wasn't as successful as I had wanted it to be. I wanted a recall, but we did get some of them recalled. But on top of it, what the kids saw was that the school district, as a compromise, or let's say as a settlement to this whole issue, allowed the genocide to become a part of the curriculum here in Pasadena. They not only allowed, they mandated now, and also Armenian language classes as part of the Pasadena school curriculum. So these are positive steps. It's not where I wanted it to go, but it ended up like that. And more important, the kids saw that they had some power within them, that they were able to write, talk to people, and that politics that we talk about is something that, as a faith-based organization, we necessarily have to plug into to get things done.
You mentioned something about allowing the children to see that they have the power to change within them, and it's not necessarily just dropping bombs, but on a local level as well. How do you see, as a faith-based organization, the role of spirituality being important in discovering that power to change?
Spirituality is essential. I don't believe that you can change without being spiritual, because that change has to come from within. Whenever you try from outside sources, it's going to be superficial, and you're not really going to buy into it. The person who's going to make the changes has to really buy into it and believe that he has that power. Well, it's impossible. It's impossible to believe that you have that power to change anything. This will be the last one for the... This is going to be a little sermon-y right now.
That's okay.
Just wait for a minute. This is bomb drill. It's impossible to believe that you have that power within you unless you go onto a spiritual plane. If you believe you're a person, you cannot fight City Hall, you cannot fight big government. But if you believe that you have a power within you. Now I always tell them this little very interesting story. Put it on the side of miracles, put it on faith, whatever you want. But a very true story. One of my parishioners 6-7 years ago was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And she had one daughter, and we as a community were devastated. How are we going to take care of this kid? What's going to happen? The mother's going to die and everything. Until she came one day and she took communion. And this was a girl that had grown up in the church and everything. And after she took communion, she came and told me, she says, now wait a minute, you tell me that this is Jesus Christ, body and blood. And you tell me that this is what I'm taking inside of me. So why am I not going to believe that this force cannot combat what's inside of me? And she took it with that faith. And that woman had a total recovery against what the doctors had said. Now, the doctors and everything, we could look at it in many, many dimensions, but I want to take it on a strictly spiritual way. If you believe you have that power, the God power within you, you can do anything. So the kids have to understand that spirituality is really the center of that power that's within them. And if they disconnect from that spiritual source, then that power is not going to be focused in the proper